This is Q95. Welcome to Talk on the Block. When you think or when you thought that these issues were slowly going away, it appears that they're still dominating the airwaves. Sex scandals, one after the other. Carlisle John Baptist was at the courts today, and of course, telling us about some new developments. Carlisle, good afternoon to you.
Hi, Matt. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to your many listeners. Of course, today was a very, very interesting day at the High Court in Roseau. That's the criminal section of the High Court in Roseau today, Matt, where Justice Errol Thomas had to sentence two individuals. One, a 21-year-old man from Portsmouth, and the other, a 71-year-old individual from the eastern part. Is it the eastern part?
Yes,
Yes, of Dominica. Now let's deal with the individual from the eastern part of Dominica. He goes by the name of Vivian Nichols, and he pleaded guilty today to a charge of burglary and a charge of unlawful sexual intercourse on an 8-year-old child in July 2013. Very, very gruesome, I must say to you. So he pleaded guilty to the charge today, and I don't even want to go in details of the facts, Matt, but it's very, very unfortunate. Having done what he did to the child was related to him. It's a blood relative. The child, Matt, spent 10 days at the Princess Margaret Hospital because of certain suspected conditions. So after the child was examined...
So after the act of burglary, Carlisle had to spend 10 days at the Princess Margaret Hospital.
Yes, at the Princess Margaret Hospital. So very, very unfortunate. And today, before sentencing, well, he's not represented, and he was not represented. He told the court that, quote, let me just get what he said. I am begging sorry for what I have done. Please forgive me. First time I am coming here, unquote. That is all he said to the court. And of course, the judge, he haven't pleaded guilty. And please take note of that. It was a guilty plea. So the judge must take two things into consideration. One, the nominal sentence. And the judge set the nominal sentence at 15 years. So the judge set both the charge of burglary that he pleaded guilty to, the nominal sentence at 15 years, and the charge of indecent assault, unlawful sexual intercourse at 15 years. And looking after the judge placed the nominal sentence at 15 years that he is obliged to do according to law, then he also has to reduce it by 1/3. Having reduced it by 1/3, it came down to 10 years. And so the judge sentenced him to 10 years on both counts to run concurrently, and of course time on remand. So again, for people who are out there and who are thinking about the sentencing, by law, the judge must, again I repeat, by law the judge must deal with the nominal sentence. And so the nominal sentence, the judge set it at 15 years, and he must reduce it because he's a first-time offender and he pleaded guilty at the first available opportunity. And so according to law, the judge must deal with that. And so the judge gave him 10 years on each of them after reducing it by 1/3, and so 10 years to run concurrently. His name is Vivian Nichols. Very, very sad situation, Matt. Like I said, I don't want to go into the details of that case, given the sad nature of that very, very unfortunate, tragic,
and a blood relative, Kalal John.
a blood relative of his. He's 71 years, and the incident took place in 2013. He was 68 years then. The child was then 8 years of age. Very, very unfortunate. In another incident where Kish Elise of Portsmouth was found guilty by a 9-member mixed jury for attempted rape. The incident occurred in February of 2012 at Chance in Portsmouth, where he is alleged to have, taken a young lady who was then 19 years, he was then 19 years, his age, and brought her in an open garage, very open, no roof, no nothing, and just about 15 feet from a road, and of course attempted to rape her. And so the young lady begged him to release her. He was adamant until finally he released her. But in looking at the aggravating factors, the judge stated that an old man who was passing by also begged him to release the young lady, and instead of releasing her, he insulted the elderly person. So it was almost like in full public view, and so he was jailed for 6 years for that offense. And again, Matt, it must be noted that he was found guilty by the jury. On the other matter, the gentleman pleaded guilty, and his lawyer is Don Yehood Stewart, who asked the judge not to impose a custodial sentence on him, and told the judge if he is minded to impose a custodial sentence, please do not be harsh, be lenient. And the judge said that that he cannot not impose a custodial sentence, and people must not trivialize the matter, and given the circumstances in what is faced in Dominica, words to that effect that the judge said. And he said if the court was not to impose a custodial sentence, the court will be sending a wrong message out to the general public. So the court is very, very forceful on those situations, given the what is going on in society, and the court has decided and continues to decide that it's sending a very, very strong message.
So I see, Kalal, the judge is paying close attention to what's going on as it relates to the social ills and all the scandals surrounding us at this time.
Well, he has always been, but he was also very, very forceful with the media, warning the media that when they must report accurately what transpired in the court. And he always does that. He admonished the media, and he's warning that he will have none of it. Persons who are found not reporting accurately what transpired in the court, he will charge them, he will cite them for contempt of court. So that is why, as it relates to what transpired, reading nominal sentence, that people must be careful that the judge did have that to take into consideration according to law, the nominal sentence, and so he set the nominal sentence at 15 years, which must be reduced by 1/3, and so the 10 years on each count. So he gave him 10 years on each count, but it must be run concurrently.
Kalai, job well done. We'll be, of course, following any other developments sometime later. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, man.
All right, more sex scandals, if you will. One 71-year-old man sent to jail, and another man from Portsmouth sent to jail as well for sex crimes. Let's listen to Pastor Randy Rodney. I'm just shaking my head. It just seemed that it's just dominating the airways. 71-year-old child I mean, 71-year-old man. At the time of the crime, he was 68, and the victim was only 8 years old. The brutality of the crime had the child spending 10 days at the hospital. Are you listening, Dominica? Let's listen to Pastor Randy Rodney when he spoke on commentaries on the program Kingdom Connections this morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, I took some time off, and I always do that, to look at the news and to read the news and to find out what's happening around me. And I viewed and read with dismay and disappointment the article on Dominica News Online. And I want to read to you portions of the article before I speak to you shortly about it. The article reads, Vice President of the Dominica Association of Evangelical Churches, Reverend Arlington Wilson, believes the church has failed in providing proper guidelines in matters of deviant sexual behavior. Wilson was among several religious leaders who met with Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit on Wednesday, March 9th to update the church, underscore that, to update the church and get feedback regarding social ills and deviant behavior negatively impacting Dominica. Mr. Wilson said, we spoke about pornography, the role of the media, and how they handle these situations. And we also spoke about having a family court. We realized that a lot of children grew up without parental figures, and therefore, we saw the need to go to the schools and the workplaces to see how we can help the children in their upbringing, he said. He said the meeting went well, and the religious leaders commended the Prime Minister for such a, open quote, godly initiative, close quote. The meeting went very well, and the Prime Minister was commended for that. At the end of the exercise, churches were asked to submit the policy that they have regarding such behaviors to the Prime Minister, so that the document could be looked at to see how it can be made a national policy regarding such behavior. Ladies and gentlemen, listen to me well. I do not wish for this to become another we against them. Another one said say this and the other said responded. And I am aware, acutely aware, that in media circles some words are used to describe comments of people for particular reasons. While I'm aware that some pastors and leaders have become irate of the statement of Pastor Wilson purporting to represent the evangelical community, I wish to submit the following, ladies and gentlemen. Pastor Wilson and the Evangelical Association must be conveniently asleep while the tons of work is being done by several churches and pastors. And while some of the perpetrators persecute and try to silence those who dare to speak. Or maybe Pastor Wilson and the Evangelical Association may be selectively blinded on the real issues of the society. I am sure that Pastor Wilson will remember that he ferociously, in his personal capacity, attacked my colleagues and myself on the internet just before the 2009 general election, when we called out some of these issues without listing names. Here is one person who now, today, agrees with us that this has been happening. He maybe didn't agree before, but he agrees with us. And I read to you, ladies and gentlemen, from part of the correspondence of one senior counsel, Anthony Astafan. He writes, there is also the problem of persons in or who were in managerial positions in the private sector who have been accused of sexual harassment, quote, open quote, big fellas, close quote. Also, during the last election, there was information surrounding inferences with minors by at least 2 candidates. In one instance, the information conveyed was that money was paid. Additionally, there is one who was wanted by the police in Barbados in connection with a student. Further, there is the critical issue of violence against women, wives and girlfriends. Some are killed. These stories are in the media regularly. Add to that the despicable conduct of men not paying maintenance for their children and women. Yet, outrage is expressed this time because elected members are involved. For my part, while I give due deference to the presumption of innocence and will await the trial in this case, generally, I condemn all illegal acts, especially acts of violence against women by any man, regardless of political affiliation. Close quote. That was Senior Counsel Anthony Astafan. Ladies and gentlemen, apart from the work done within the churches, let me list just a few activities taken over the last 14 years, some of which Mr. Skerrit, the Prime Minister, and some of his ministerial colleagues have been invited to but did not attend, for the information of Pastor Wilson and the Evangelical Association. There have been purity rallies held every December from 2005. There have been initiatives by churches, Pentecostal Church in Goodwill, with regard to speaking to young people with the purity. There have been initiatives jointly by the Grand Bay and Pishley Gospel Mission Churches, the Roseau Christian Union Church, the Deliverance Baptist Church, to name a few who have been part of certain jointly held activities. We have had discussions on purity and abstinence under the question of HIV and sexual abuse. We have had counseling, numerous counseling sessions with abused children and abused women. And so, yes, we have also had personal warnings issued to some perpetrators by pastors and leaders. Please understand that this current situation is not a surprise event, but an uncovering of continual acts committed against our women and children with impunity because of persistent prayer by some. Some of us, we are praying. Our prayers are still being answered, while some are looking for ways to hide and bob and weave around it. Our prayers are being answered. So, you have not seen anything yet. The rest of the exposure is on its way. It is time to face that this is a scourge which faces Caribbean society, but faces the Dominican society in ways that have not been seen before. And if not handled with firmness, fairness, forgiveness, and grace, it will erupt into an even more lawless society. Those who are doing their level best to sweep it under the rug as another case will reap the rewards of their action, and our children will be destroyed by it. I have on Kingdom Connection several times called for calm since this latest saga, introspection and restraint in dealing with this. But we are so blinded that we see colors and parties and personal kingdoms, which will only serve to further divide us and further destroy our children. If not checked, we can end up with mentally unstable people, frustrated youth, and serious increase in real deviant behavior. And not just sexual behavior, but real deviant behavior. In view of this, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to invite all pastors and leaders to a meeting on Monday, March 14th, 2016 at 5:30 p.m. at the Truth and Grace Fellowship Global on Independence Street, so that we can prepare a proper documentation, an objective presentation to the Prime Minister, his cabinet and Parliament, so that there can be Parliament's action as well as guidance to lead politicians and parliamentarians in this jurisdiction. Ladies and gentlemen, this is more than just talk. This must not remain as empty rhetoric. If we really want to do something, we need to tie our waists, to remove our fake glasses and deal with this thing properly. Not by sitting down and blaming church for not doing what church has always done. Listen to this, finally. If you, Mr. Wilson, and the Evangelical Association continue with this wimpy behavior, you will be sent for a second time to pray. You remember you were sent to pray some time ago? You will be sent to pray, because you will be told, as you were told before, that praying is what you are here to do.
Back at Wade.
Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95. Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
Dominicans, you can't continue to remain silent. A 71-year-old man sent to jail found guilty of buggery against an 8-year-old child. The child was injured so badly he had to spend 10 days at the Princess Margaret Hospital. Maybe you will speak when it gets to your doorstep. Speak out, Dominica. Let's listen to this inspirational story there before I take your phone calls.
Is completely taken over by a secular government, and the church is silence. And that's what happened in Germany. And we need to remember. And so I'm grateful that we are taking a day at least once a year to highlight this. This was Nazi Germany in the late 1930s. But there was no church resistance to this, and two of the heroes that we're familiar with today, one Dietrich Bonhoeffer, also Martin Niemöller, one of the pastors in Germany at the time, along with Bonhoeffer, who was resisting the Nazi regime. Mm-hmm. Both of them went to jail. Let me read Niemöller's famous poem because it captures so well something that can happen in any country when we forget our heritage and our faith commitment. Here it is. First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out, because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out, because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak out for me. Mm-hmm. The issue is that we as the church have to stand up when human beings are suffering. I think that's a clarion call for the church, no matter the philosophy. We need and are compelled by the love of Christ to engage a culture when human beings made in the image of God are being degraded by government or by another group of people.
This is Ati Martin, just calling to wish you all the strength that you and your colleagues and the rest of us will need in order to continue to ask the right questions. We need to ask questions that reveal the truth to people. We need to remember that it is the children of Dominica that this is about. The children are our future. The children learn what they live. If we as adults behave, as indicated in that poem, not feeling that we are responsible, the children will grow up feeling and being irresponsible. Mm-hmm. We need to ask questions about the pajama parties that used to take place at the Prime Minister's residence.
Yes.
We need to ask questions of the police officers who were on duty paid by the taxpayers, but who were using government vehicles to go and pick up young girls all over the place and bring them to those pajama parties. We need to ask those kinds of questions.
That's right.
We need to ask, are there any policymakers inside or outside of the cabinet who are themselves perpetrators and predators of evil against our children? And would they please stand up and identify themselves and beg for forgiveness from the children of Dominica? Where are those perpetrators and predators who wear honorable as part of their title, who have worn honorable as part of their title, and have dishonored and disgraced and debauched and destroyed our children? And where are those in our society who have known about this, who have known about this, who have participated in this, doctors, lawyers, accountants, engineers, whoever they are, where are you today? Where will you be when they come for you? And nobody will be there to speak up for you. Well, we are here to speak for our children.
Will you speak if you know that something is wrong? Our children are suffering. We're taking some phone calls here, wrapping it up at 2 o'clock. Talk to me. Yes. Good afternoon.
Matt, are you hearing thunder?
I'm hearing thunder from where I am now.
Climate change. Jesus is coming.
Hello, talk to me. Yes, good afternoon. Hello? Somebody's on the telephone and not paying attention. Are you there, caller? You gotta call back. Hello, talk to me.
Hello, good afternoon, Matt.
How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Matt. I'm doing good. But it's really a sad day in Dominica. Matt, I saw and heard Pastor Wilson on the television last night on Mapping. And he was smiling and laughing from the beginning to the end. I believe that the abuse of our young persons in this country is not a laughing matter. But he is telling us not to blame the government, blame the church. So I want to ask him if the incident that happened with the man where the 71-year-old man abused the child, if it's the church that has to take the blame. I want to ask him if the failure of the government to put the facilities for young persons, young offenders in this country, is the church that has to be blamed. The lack of counselors in the schools across this country. I understand welfare department have 2 for the entire country. Is the church to be blamed for that? Rehabilitation center for our youth and those persons affected by drugs. What is Mr. Wilson saying? Is he lined up waiting for a duty-free concession? Is he in the hands of politicians? I know the gentleman, he worked in Wesley for a couple of years. I say, shame on you, Mr. Wilson. Thank you very much, Matt.
Thank you very much. Hello.
Matt, good afternoon. Matt, I have been speaking and I will continue to speak. Your question was if we have to continue to speak or we must speak when something is wrong.
Yes.
I have been speaking and I will continue to speak. Have a good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, my brother 142. Continue to speak. Hello. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon, Matt.
I'm here.
I listened to Carla this afternoon said that this 71-year-old man, he got 15 years nominal sentence, then minus a 30, 10 years. But he said something in addition to that just, oh my God, it made it worse. You see that word concurrently? I don't understand why it's always concurrently. Why not consecutively? When the man come out of jail, he's going to be 81 years old. The man just died in jail. You see these kind of things there? These things just get on my nerves. That is not enough time. 15 years is already ridiculous. 10 years. It's 10 years. When you put that word concurrently, it doesn't mean 20 or 30. It's 10 years. Bye-bye, Matt.
All right, of course, it's 143. Hello.
Good afternoon, Matt Espelte Jr. How are you?
I'm here.
Matt, you know what is the saddest part of all of this, Matt? They try to tell you it's happening everywhere in the world. But, you know, it really freaks me out when I hear people talk that kind of foolishness. So, Matt, if somebody goes down the road and kills somebody, you will go down the road, kill somebody, and when you go to court, tell the judge that person killed somebody too. Matt, this is such a pathetic. Some of these people have become so pathetic, Matt, that sometimes their behavior and their responses don't even deserve to answer, Matt. How in God's green earth you can tell me that an 8-year-old child molested by a 68-year-old man, and somebody will look and tell me, oh, it's happening all over the world? I'm not talking about I'm talking about Dominica, a society with 70,000 people. where nearly everybody is related, Matt. And Matt, you know what the sad part? As I was listening to some of the comments by Afimake, these things are facilitated with powerful people in powerful positions, Matt. Matt, who reduced the society to poverty is not the churches. Who is responsible for employment of our people, Matt, is not the churches. Who is responsible for the destruction of the economy, Matt, is not the churches, Matt. It is the government. And I think, as I've said many times before, Matt, until we are honest and frank and address the issues head on, Matt, we are not going to get anywhere. You're blaming the churches for what? It is the government's responsibility to provide counseling for the children at school, to provide facilities to take care of juvenile offenders, to have the necessary systems in place to address juvenile issues, to provide employment for those people out of employable age, to provide and to take care, ensure that the economy is sustainable, that poverty does not persist to the point where mothers have to prostitute their daughters. But this is part of the silence problem, Matt. It is because these mothers are so poor, they have no jobs, they have these children to feed, Matt. It is the government's fault and their responsibility, and the Prime Minister must look at himself and take care of that. We know the pajama party, but my God, they're lucky none of my children involved in that, you know. But somebody would die.
All right. Good afternoon. You know, there's a sadder part to that story that we're just not willing and ready to talk about, because your stomach would really, really hurt you. Hello, talk to me.
During the Calypso Carnival season, there's a song, I think, sung by the Messenger. Probably you need to play that song again.
What song is that?
From the Messenger.
The Messenger. All right. Well, we'll try. Hello, talk to me.
First, I'll say, unlike my friend Mervyn Roseau, I will not continue to talk. I'm almost finished with talking. But first, I'll say, the white folks in England, they talk. At the end of the day, they act. You cannot talk forever. That 71-year-old should be hung publicly by the old market where the Soufre bus stop is. But first, I'll say, the government, you know, knows what's going on. They should get their bottom in Parliament and amend that bloody legislation. That is why you pay scare it.
You think, as you said yesterday, that they're dragging their feet on this?
Excuse my language, Matt. Matt, you cannot be paying a man $20,000 a month for a job when our kids are being dehumanized. It is time Scarrett get his backside in the Parliament, amend those laws. The lady said to you a while ago, the word concurrently comes into it. Had they gone into the Parliament and made that thing consecutively, so that that animal gets himself 30 years in jail, you are now giving him 15 years? An 8-year-old child? Oh my God, my first party, let us remove that government. It is them, you know, Matt. They are the ones who pass and amend laws. They are the ones paid by the taxpayers. They are not doing their jobs. We cannot have 8-year-old kids in this country being dehumanized. In the white man's country, a different scenario. That is why the white men say they are superior race of people to us, you know, Matt. That sort of things happen in Britain. I told you a while ago, a few days ago, 4 Pakistanis had sexual intercourse with a young child in Britain. Those guys were given 25 years total in jail, an average of about 125, average about 30 years each in jail. Here we're not even going to the Parliament until 9 months. 9 months to do bloody what? A couple of laws you got to amend, you got 9 months, and you're paying this man's Prime Minister my foot. But let's drag this guy to the Parliament and pass the bloody laws. You people are being treated like slaves in this country. The Prime Minister should be in Parliament next week, make sure that those laws are amended, and within a month
we execute those laws, Matt. It's time we rise up in this bloody land, for God's sake. Good morning.
Oh boy, my friend from Sophia, really emotional. Richie, as a young reporter, how you feel about what's going on?
Yeah, Matt, this is very disturbing to me. I'm a 24-year-old man, very young, and the principles I was raised by my father and mother. I can't imagine this happening, especially like the caller said. I think the three callers ago, for lack of a better word, I agree with this man that this is extremely disturbing. Something needs to be done. Of course, we heard about the amendments earlier on, the proposed amendments for the Sexual Offences Act. This needs to be implemented effective immediately, I believe. And as a young man, again, I'm disturbed, bro. And for what I know, you and I both know that there's more to this story. And like you said, I don't think the public is ready to hear this just yet. But I'm disgusted, and I don't want to say too much about this man in terms of what he should get and if he should be hanged publicly and so on. But what I will say is this. I feel for the family at this point in time. I do not support this act. And currently, in terms of the decision taken by Mr. Harris, I believe, Ray Harris and the committee, I agree with them 100%. Meridum, I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen right now. That's just personally from me, my personal opinion. It's a democracy. This is very disturbing, and I believe something needs to be done.
All right, let's take another phone caller. Hello.
Matt, good afternoon.
Yes, sir.
For the record, my name is Robin, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, I listened to Pastor Rodney this morning, read a thing from Senior Counsel Lever, right? And I want to say, Pastor Rodney should read that letter carefully. I understand fully well what Tony Astafan is saying. And Tony Astafan deserves no credit, no credence for nothing he said. He's just being a hypocrite. I could go and talk to Pastor Rodney because I understand fully what he's trying to say. And he's a hypocrite. Now, secondly, Matt, I realize on your news, Q News, I think Q News is doing a disservice to people who normally listen to Q. Every day now, I don't know who's getting paid or who's doing whatever on Q's news desk. None of the issues that we're discussing on Q every day have never been discussed on Kyrie or DBS. But then I'm hearing issues that discuss on DBS and Kyrie as relating to Mr. Lennox Linton's statement on voting by what's her name, the lady they pay with taxpayers' money paying in St. Thomas when she should be working hard for money. And Q has stopped that. Q is actually working against us. Q News desk.
Working against who? Working against who?
I mean, working against people who normally support Q.
No, but if the news is out there, they have to report it. It doesn't mean that, if you feel that you have a particular perspective as to what is going on. Q News is news for everybody and for all political parties. So I don't know if what you say
is misguided a bit, Matt. I think the caller is trying to say something. But in terms of the news desk, like Matt said, it's our job to report everything, bro. It doesn't matter what side it comes from. We don't care.
All right. Thank you very much. 153. 4493095. Let's go.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mac.
Yes, sir.
And how are you?
Good.
Well, Mr. Mac, I myself I saying praise to the Almighty God, because it seems to me, although the thing is rural station, but if it's not Q, people will not know what is taking place in that island. And when I listen, I hearing now. That is something the Prime Minister and all his ministers do make sure. Go and I hearing about 15 years. That means to say more advantage. Why they don't put it 18 years and see to it that come to an end and to make sure our children protective, because when you have your little daughter, you look at your cherish, and to see that things happening, I mean that's not something nice. And one thing again, there should be a law at least of 30 years in jail. Not of going and play as if it's a fortnight walking, go and sleep 2 nights, go, and when you finish, you back on the street.
All right, but sir, the law is looking at all this kind of things, and I'm sure when it's implemented, we'll see a review of the punishment for these kind of crimes. Hello.
Matt, good afternoon to you and the listening public.
Yes.
Matt, seriously, an 8-year-old child. Where is the father for that child? Is he dead? 3 years after that case is being called, this man should not even be there for no case to be called. Father, step up. Enough is enough. So what are we heading for? And people talking about government to put legislations. My brother have told you all already. Codfish, stallfish, and lakowi is just spelled differently, but it's the same meaning. They know that themselves will be cut into their own trap. They are dragging their feet. Look how quickly they use, they call drugs and guns and those things. 3 years for an abuse case for an 8-year-old child for burglary, and we're talking about martyrdom to us, insult to injury, with all the corruption that is going on in Dominica. Oh, God help Dominica and release us from that stigma and from that crime that is going on in the country. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too. Hello. 4493095, 4493096. We're going to come back quickly after this.
Q Classified. 95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue. Right on cue.
I just love Q95. I love Q95.
Okay, all right. We'll be back here on Monday for more, right here on Q95.